I met a guy at a schmoozer. He had a 3D printer, three-dimensional QR code. It was made up of a bunch of little white sticks that were all sticking up maybe a quarter inch. And if you were right above it, it would work as a QR code.
The
And it was all
first thing I would
3D.
do with that is see how hard I had to crush it in my hand before it would break. Like I would be
Wow. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host. I'm joined today by Gary, and only Gary, and that makes me sad. Hello.
You told me that you were going to introduce me like I was the special guest. Why'd you back down?
Because you're not special.
I just wanted to feel special.
I'll get you a lollipop.
We were talking about actors before. I thought I'd give you my best acting, which
Oh,
goes to show you why I never pursued acting.
that's why you're on podcasts. There it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, face for radio right there.
Easily editable.
Story of my life right there. Easily replaceable is the story of my life.
No, useless overhead is what you just describe yourself as.
That is true. I am useless overhead, or my official title is the Chief Gary Poker. That's what it says on Slack.
Yeah.
Chief Gary Poker. CGP? That sounds weird. Anyway, I will tell you my most recent thing that I found fascinating. So I went to coffee with a guy who was on this podcast a long time ago, Tim. And because of that, we've been friends since. And we go coffee about once a quarter, once every 6 months or so. And he's a very smart guy. And he challenged me towards the end of we chatted about movies and we chatted about everything. And at the end, he got real serious. And he starts asking me if I had ever heard of the Golden Circle. Have you ever heard of the Golden Circle?
I think you
Pretend
got to be
haven't,
one of
'cause
those CEOs that sneaks into this exclusive camp of people that's in a circle and you have like exchange gold.
Nice. That's exactly right. It's a conspiracy organization.
Illuminati.
The Golden Circle, if you ever look up, I think his name is Simon Sinek.
Yes.
That really interesting.
He's pretty famous.
He's pretty famous. Yeah, I'd never heard of him before. And now, yeah, apparently I've been in a rock. So my apologies. He had a TED Talk. Well, back when TED Talks were like serious things. Now everyone has a TED Talk.
It seems like every college and community college has their own little TED Talk circuit.
Yeah, version of some sort of,
There's
and
way too
there's so many
much.
brands of them. But originally there were probably 100 TED Talks that just were amazing. And he gave one of them called the Golden Circle. It's 20 years old now. I mean, it's funny because I saw a picture of him again. I didn't know who he was. But I see a picture of him now. This is a very old video. But in it, he talks about why some companies are great and some companies are just good. And you've heard that a lot, but there's a whole book on it called Good Great. But this was really interesting because most companies, he draws a circle. He draws 3 circles. It looks like a target. And on the outside, you have 3 rings. Outside is what you do. The second ring is how you do it. And the inner circle is why you do it. Okay. And most companies start from the outside in. So I make cars. That's what I do. And my cars are fancy cars because they're Mercedes. That's how I do it. That's how I separate myself. And that's usually the end of the conversation. Why never gets brought up. You think of Dell Computer, you think of almost anything, any main business, even big ones. I'm not talking about even, they don't have to be small. They can be very successful businesses, but then there are some that transcend that. And that's like Apple. That's the big example, but he uses all sorts of examples in his stuff like Martin Luther King and stuff like that. Because it's not just necessarily business, even though that's the realm in which I'm putting it. But he uses Apple as the example.
I think his point was the way you communicate your purpose to others and how orators and people like Martin Luther King Jr. in that case, they start with their beliefs and
Correct.
then they tell you why that's important to them and then how, since it's important to them this way, maybe it could be important to you too. And then he translates that into how some companies talk about themselves.
And if you think about that, starting with the why, so Apple is the big example. Their thing is we think differently. We are making computers for the artists and the rebels of the world. Steve Jobs was really good at that. And they did many ads around that. And we do that by selling you a computer. And so the people who, if you go back now, about a pre-iPhone, I think, where I'm talking, before it became everybody owned an iPhone or everybody owned an Apple product. The original people who were excited about Apple were people who bought into that why. They were the artists. They were the change makers.
Yeah, their breakthrough commercial was like the scene of the guy throwing the computer through the screen. Like basically
Mhm.
not just think different, but change the world.
We're
We
gonna
want you to
change things.
change the world, and we want you to think differently of how you can do that. And by the way, here's a computer to help you out.
Here's a
You
computer,
know?
and we also and here's an iPod or whatever. As opposed to Gateway or Dell or IBM or whatever, it's a computer. Here's a computer. Do you want RAM? Do you want some megahertz? Do you want some gigahertz? Whatever you want. I got a good processor. Here it is. That's every company that sells computers. Honestly, Microsoft's trying a little bit, but they don't have it. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
that
the other thing is with this scenario, if companies have been pushing the what we do for so long and then they try to switch just randomly, the
it's
inauthentic
inauthentic. Yeah,
voice is like immediately apparent. So
you get a few chances, I think, to do that. If you change your CEO, I think you open the door to, hey, we're gonna change things up. We've been
yeah,
selling you widgets forever, but this is why we sell you widgets. You can do that at major shifts in your company. But yeah,
yeah, a
if it's
lot of
just an
companies
ad
do that
thing,
in like a rebranding effort.
yeah. So the golden
What?
circle is reversing the way you do your messaging. So instead of what, hi, let's try that again. Instead of what and how, you start with why, then how, then what. So in Apple's cases, we build things for the rebel, the artist, the creator, right? The changers, change makers, all those people. There's their why. We do this by bringing in design, and we would do this by using the top quality materials and
And
by
keeping
building
the
something that you
software
care
and
about.
hardware together
We
as
do this.
we're
There's
giving
your how,
the end.
and the what is, oh, we happen to make computers, and we also do iPods, and at the time, a few products. They didn't have a ton back then. And it was like those, so the people who bought them were buying into the why. Now, this all falls apart if your what is bad. Let me be very clear.
That's true.
If Apple
Yeah.
made cruddy computers, none of this would matter. If Martin Luther King didn't give a great speech, none of this, his beliefs die on the vine. And they're still great beliefs, they're still great things. But if he hadn't done the I Have a Dream speech and just knocked it out of the park, no one would be talking about him right now. It's just the way so the product matters. I don't want to so that baseline, have a good product. But once you have that good product, showing why you did it is, and so it's trained. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It was funny. I was a little behind the scenes. So right after I'd seen this video, I was still watching it. I sent it to Gary. I'm like, dude, check this out. And I'm sure I'm the last person. Everyone who's listened to this has probably already seen this video. But if you haven't seen it in 10 years, go watch it again. And so I started thinking about what is our why? Because I talk about it all the time internally. Why I started this company, why I built the company the way I did build it. But we've never said it in like a promotional way. We've never said it out loud except internally. We do
Well,
when we're hiring, interestingly enough.
yeah, I wouldn't say talking about it in a promotional way is really accurate. I think sometimes companies, I know we did, will fall into this idea that if they're going to be promoting, the default is to promote what,
Mm.
not why. So it's not so much that we're talking about why we do this or why you started the company in a promotional way. It's just more of, oh, it's actually the authentic, real reason that we didn't think to share because it was almost default to sharing what we do rather than why as the major part of
What I
it's
find
like
interesting,
pushing a
so many
product makes
websites.
people think they have to push the product instead of
It's just, think about it. So this is okay. Behind the scenes, I tell Gary's building our new website right now. It's been going on for 6 years
really slow.
and not talented at all. But I say to him, hey, I want to lead with this why. This is speaking to me. I want to lead with the why. And he challenges me like everyone else. He's saying, you only have a few seconds to capture the person's attention, right? Because this is what we've all been told. And so we got to lead with, we build websites or mobile web apps and all that stuff, or they're going to think, oh, I'm in the wrong place and they're going to leave, right? That's what we've all been trained. And we relegate the why. That's not, we argued about this because I agreed with him, right? We're changing the way we're building our website completely. Eventually it'll be live and you'll see it. But most people with their why in the about page.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Think how
And
buried
I
that
wouldn't
is. Who goes to
say,
about page of a website, honestly? But
yeah.
that's where
And
people's heart lives.
I didn't disagree with you about leading with the why. I just tried to like also make you understand it seems like we had to almost include some of what we did as well. And that was more of the how do we do that
It's tricky,
as the
right? Because
challenge. But then, yeah, we ended up going completely in your direction, which to me feels like exactly what we should do.
it feels nice once we decided to do it, but it goes against everything about building websites we have been taught. You have SEO optimization, you need all the buzzwords. If you want to show up doing mobile apps, you have to show up mobile apps. You got to put that all over your homepage or no one's going to find you. And we're just throwing that out because if you're going to find, I've always said that in a consulting business like ours, agency, a firm or whatever, no one SEOs us. We do get some, but generally
Everybody we've
speaking,
talked to on this podcast, when it comes to giving 3 pieces of advice or talking about how they've grown their business or how they're marketing themselves, one of the main ways that everybody goes from like startup no one knew about to getting some gravity is always it's going to be like networking referrals over SEO. Because unless you're selling a product at a price point,
widget.
trying to outpace your competitors with either a lower price or a higher quality product, that, yeah, you're going to push that as much as possible. And you're going to try to optimize SEO if you're on Shopify or Amazon or whatever. But for what we do, it's, yeah, all that's really going to give us if we optimize for SEO is just put us in more listicles. That's it.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
Something for them to
after
go
I
and
handed
learn
my
more
business
about
card, the website was the first thing that you saw that was proof. Is this guy full of crap or can he back it up? I have a nice business card. I hand it to you. You're like, okay, cool. I enjoyed talking to this guy or gal, is whoever. I'm going to give them a little test. I'm going to go to their website to see if they do quality work. Now, in my case, when I build mobile apps and web apps and all that stuff, my website becomes incredibly powerful, important. If I have a bad website, I'm done. That guy is done with me. This guy can't do his job. Why would he do me a good website? So it's
Ironically,
unusual.
though, a lot of the companies that do what we do,
Oh, they have horrible websites. That is the irony
Yeah.
of it. Everywhere you can go and Google custom software development, any city, I don't care what city you're in.
you'll find the
Click
same
on the
WordPress
first 10.
template.
They look exactly the same.
And they use mismatched icons from different clip art packs. Oh, it's great.
They're just, and you can usually tell if they're built offshore and they're trying to attack a US market. Those usually just scream through. There's a million things. If one thing I hate and one thing we push really hard against on our own site, we're not perfect at it. I hate stock imagery. If I'm going to show people, I want those people to be my employees or my customers. When I have the beautiful people touching the air and it's a bright, everybody's got that image, or they're on the space whiteboard that they're drawing in front of them, or there's a million of these and everybody's got the
You're speaking
multicultural
of
group.
the images that are specifically talking about the company, though.
Yeah. We use screenshots and icons.
I was going to say, because you're just describing a lot of our blog images, which are different.
That's fine. No, that's different. And a lot of those
articles.
you're making anyways, but
Yeah, that's
I just can't stand when you click on the About Us page and it's that
just a stock photo of some
diverse
glass
group
building.
of people in a glass building smiling at you. None of those people work there. That drives me crazy.
I love the
That's the
whiteboard
most
with the
inauthentic.
9,000 Post-its and everybody smiling and pointing. Like
Yeah.
they're mapping
Or they're
out
all
their
looking
next
at the
project.
whiteboard.
Yeah.
That's never, and they're all perfectly dressed. And I'm like, those
Or
people
the
have pants
14
on.
people
Clearly this is
gathered
not
around
real.
the one computer, all pointing at the screen,
Yeah.
and then the designer or whoever like smiling. No, that would
No,
never
it's
happen.
just
You get
anything
anybody
looking
over
at the
your
camera
shoulder,
is against the
forget it.
rules. But I'm just authenticity. If I could boil it down, I think the golden circle, I think in the world of AI, in the world of everything that we're doing, authenticity is the last bit of currency we have. Because the world is exploding in a monumental explosion of C+ content that AI is generating. by the metric ton. Every LinkedIn post, every this, every that is AI generated, or at least AI influenced. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Every blog post, not every, but those few that was written by a human, they still shine through. They just do. You read the New York Times because there's a human being behind every single article they make. They will die on that hill. They have a vibe. They have everything. Every good website should be with people. And I think that is still, if not still true, it's even more true. Authenticity is so critical.
And to add to that, in the sea of AI generated marketing and sales content, when you're speaking if you're speaking about your business from a standpoint of why and authenticity, and you're honest with yourself about what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're doing it, like there is no way that you're going to mess up or say anything that's going to be cheesy, scammy, or sound like inauthentically salesy. You know what I mean? It just immediately will break down that sales barrier for the person reading it if they can connect some sort of emotion to it instead of just trying to get through the pitch and find the price.
I think a lot of people get into the AI stuff because I don't know how to write. And so they're making their about page where they're putting their heart for the first time on the page. And I don't know how to write this. This is uncomfortable. So I'm going to use AI to do it. But I promise you, people will respond to, obviously, you got to be grammatically correct. Come on, they're Grammarly now.
There's a difference between assistance and writing. Yeah, for sure.
If you write it down and you're writing from your heart, why you started this company, why you do what you do. And the answer to that is not to make a buck. If the answer to that is to make a buck, we might as well have AI write it. But if you started this business, and I would say 80+% of the startups that I've worked with, which has been a lot now, got to be 50+. 80% of them are starting something that they believe in. Either it's a really cool idea that they had, it is something they wanted to fix in the world, whatever it is, they believe in this thing. They're not trying to make a buck. Obviously, the bucks come, right? Profit should take care of itself. That's always the rule. If you do what you're supposed to be doing, profit will take care of itself to a point. But I think that I would challenge you, though. I guess if I'm speaking to you and you're someone who's been using AI to write your about page or write the post that you're really exposing what you believe, I would challenge you to do it for real, even if it's not perfect. It'll come across way, way better. And your audience, whatever that audience is, whether it's clients or employees or whatever, is going to respond better than drivel from an AI bot.
Wabi Sabi.
What did you just say?
It's the Japanese expression for the beauty of imperfection.
Seriously? Wabi Sabi?
Look it up.
I believe you because I know you're all into the whole, but that's so silly sounding for such a profound idea. That is so silly sounding. Wabi Sabi.
So we came into the podcast without a guest, but we were going to talk about things that we're doing in our business that might be of value to you guys listening. And one of the recent changes we've made is starting to talk about our company leading with the why instead of the what. And then so we've explained why we want to lead with the why and where we got the idea from.
Why? Yeah. It's funny that it seems so common. Like it doesn't, this is not a revelation. I'm being blinded. Wow. I'm gonna have to move. Hold on.
No, but I think it's just enough outside of the practice that you see every day that it's almost, wait, that's different. And I'm afraid of doing that. I'm just going to do what everybody else in my
I'm telling you, dude,
my industry
every
does.
website, you can see this in practice. Go to any website that's selling any sort of service and it's all about how. And the idea of leading with your why is so redonkulously different. Again, Google, you can take our industry and every single website looks the exact same. Even our current one, if you go to it now, follows that same script. It looks amazing, but it's still that same script. And so we are taking a risk. We both recognize by doing this, we are absolutely taking a risk on potentially shooting ourselves right in the face. I don't know. It might not work.
Well,
it might be.
It's weird though, because after me and you went through our 900 variations of the words we're going to use and how we're going to describe this or whatever, where we ended, we were both like, you know what? That's just it. That feels like
right.
us. That feels right. And that makes sense. And why didn't we do this earlier? Like, this just feels like the direction to go. Yeah, it might not
that
fit
this belongs on the About page.
Yeah, might not fit the bullet points of the best SEOs for your, or the other posts that I see nonstop when you're a designer and you follow other designers. Here's how a landing page converts. Follow these simple steps.
Oh gosh, how do you?
This value statement. Explain this quick. Proof of or proof, social proof. Blah blah blah. Everybody's got the 10-step program to make your website convert and be SEO friendly. But again, like you said, that comes off. You're just a cookie cutter, inauthentic website like everybody else.
There's the challenge. I'd be very curious if anybody actually takes it up, but let us know.
A lot of our guests talk about the one main thing that you need is passion. And then if you take the chance of actually describing what that passion was and why you're doing what you're doing, maybe it'll pay off.
We're going to find out.
Hopefully.
All right. On that note, we're going to round this guy right back around and
round this guy home.
Let's round him home to second base. Thank you for listening to our drivel, and hopefully our editors will work extra hard and make this somewhat cohesive.
You only miss the shots you don't take. Wait, no, that's not how it is.
There's only...
You miss 100% of the shots that you don't...
That's right.
I'm got that.
I'm going to give 110%.
Shoot like you're the guy from Turkey in the Olympics.
That wraps up this episode of the BizDev Podcast. Thanks for listening. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at hello@thebigpixel.net or connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. BizDev is a production of Big Pixel, a US-based provider of UX, design, strategy, and custom software. This podcast is edited by Matt McCracken, yes, that is his name, and me, Christy Pronto. Mark